All right, Mike had the great idea to talk about how we anticipate a loss and how we feel as we're anticipating that loss. It's a real upbeat subject for our podcast today. Thanks, Mike, for that
You're
one.
welcome.
And not the loss itself, which is a whole nother topic.
That's a different topic.
It's
Yes,
the waiting for the loss, the anticipation of the loss. And that would be both personally and in trial, because as we know, trial is a microcosm of life. So let's start off with trial. Of course, as soon as you said that topic, it immediately took me back. So remember, I have this fragmented mind, which is very bifurcated, and when I'm done thinking about something, I stick it up on the shelf and tuck it away. And you triggered it instantly. With the case that I tried in 2022, I had started off that year. It was a brutal year. I tried the first case, which was a month-long trial in. That's the wrongful murder case that was in Ephrata. I tried that case from a hotel room. The second trial,
But you won that case.
I did win that case, was the Simon case, which was,
Yeah.
the big verdict in Pierce County. That was a month. And then I had the next trial. And they were back to back. And when I was finishing up with one trial, I was already working on the paperwork.
That's what I was going to say. Your paralegals were already working on
Yeah.
the other trial.
And other attorneys
Yeah.
were preparing stuff, but I was literally working on that paperwork with them while I was
While
still
the
trying
other
a
trial
different
was
case.
closing.
So one, boom, boom. So we get to trial number 3. And the judge had made some, well, first of all, I didn't argue any of the pretrial motions or trial motions because now in a team, I like other people to do that, and I don't even care who does it. Like in the wrongful murder case, I had Farhad argue a lot of them, and he had been out of law school for 3 months.
I was going to say, wasn't that was his first time?
Now, the judge kept flipping back and forth.
Yeah.
So we had to keep re-arguing them, and a lot of it was me re-arguing them because he would come back and revisit each thing he ordered. But this is what you have to do sometimes when you're a busy trialer. You are literally at night working on the next trial. I get to trial number 3. We had a plan. The plan was one lawyer was going to argue, it was Ruby, all the motions, which she did. She lost all of them, pretty much. And it wasn't her fault. The judge was a problem for us in this case. Had been before the trial, was all through the trial. Secondly, there were 2 other lawyers on the case, John and Ed. And then there was me. And we had kind of a plan of how this trial was going to go down. I was going to be trying it all by myself. We get to the trial. We lose all the motions, again, motions in limine, that we cared about.
So you were
Makes
already at a disadvantage now.
So we're trying to figure out and navigate all these motions in limine. We're having to tell our witnesses and our clients about the motions in limine. The judge is getting mad because occasionally a witness would forget what we told them about a motion in limine. Motion in limine is you can't talk about something.
Yeah, so they would make a mistake talking about something
In
they're
other
not
words,
allowed to.
here's some of the motions in limine. This is a case against Seattle Children's Hospital, and the parents weren't allowed to tell the jury how they found out that the hospital had aspergillus in it, that their child who had brain surgery was exposed to aspergillus. They couldn't say how they found out. They couldn't say that they knew that there were other patients in there because other parents talked to them about the fact that their children had been exposed to aspergillus. He limited so much of everything. He wouldn't allow our experts, our standard of care experts, to talk about what their own standard of care was, how they would do it. They could only talk about what the standard of care was. So navigating this was extremely difficult. Then it turned out that it wasn't working out to have that many people trying the case. And so I took on the lion's share after the first week of trial, already in a deficit. And we were continuing to lose every motion that we were fighting for. And we were continuing to get hammered by the judge. In fact, the defense lawyers were just standing up objecting to almost everything I did all the time. Within days, I was worried. After that first week, very worried. We tried to renew settlement discussions, not accepted. We're marching towards not good.
You were marching towards
And
a loss.
knew it after the first week when we could not make up that deficit, that everything was going bad. The judge hated me. The judge hated the case. At least that's what it appeared like to us. It appeared to us that we weren't going to be able to really go after this hospital for what happened. And there had been a lot of money that was offered to settle the case. And you're looking at a severely injured child and their parents, and you're marching forward because you have no choice. No choice. And at the end of the day, in that case, we lost the medical negligence part. We won the contamination of the skull cap part. So there was a jury verdict of $750,000, but that was nothing compared to what that case was worth. And when you are anticipating it, here's what you feel like. First of all, you're playing a flare, so you're hoping that that's not going to happen. And you have to keep thinking positive. Every day, you start off thinking, today's a new day. Every day, you're throwing yourself at that wall, at that judge, at that jury, with 150 million% of anything that's in your body. You are stifling all the worry and the anxiety. You cannot feel it. You cannot let the jury sense it. You cannot let your client sense it, even though, they're watching this thinking, this isn't good. And the defense lawyer, you can just feel the aura of their, you just want to wipe the smug look off their faces because they're winning, and the judge is just helping you not prevail. And you are just marching towards this result. And so when the jury finally gives its answer, you're not even shocked, even though it's the worst thing that you can imagine because of what it's doing to your clients. So it's excruciating. You can't acknowledge it in the law. Your job is to present that case. There are no more options that you have. You can't just stop the trial and say, well, I think we're going to lose, so we would like to stop it. You're spending tons of money putting up expert witnesses. You're having to prepare every night. You're sleeping, your 4 hours a night instead of your regular amount. And then as soon as that horrible experience is over, I had another legal procedure. I had the Charlene Lyles inquest, which took a month.
And was also very difficult.
Also difficult.
Yeah.
But different, right?
In a different way, but it was frustrating. I remember, because I was there for part of it.
Yeah. So you don't even have time to fully grieve what happened. That's what it feels like.
What about you, Mo?
Wait a minute. Was that fun?
No, that doesn't sound fun at all. And I mean, I was here and I helped out on that trial. Well, yeah, I helped out on that trial, and I remember going down there and people and the changes in you guys as the trial progressed.
Everybody watching the trial kept saying, why does the judge hate you?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I'm not going to speculate too much, but it certainly seemed like the judge had something that he was mad about.
Mad.
that didn't have to do about your behavior.
And when a judge is angry with you, one side, the jury then picks up on that, obviously. And the jury at the end, I don't think they were particularly angry. So at least we we avoided that. I mean, they did award, on one of the claims, but it still haunts me when I have to open that, because I never really, during the process, was able to to deal with any of it. You cannot, as a professional, you have to just keep going.
Did you? I'm just wondering if you felt that there was anything that you could have done differently.
So, and this is the way that I'm wired, which thank God I am, because otherwise I don't think I would be a trial lawyer going on or after 40 years. I believe that I do my absolute best, and I don't go back and ruminate. Very little. Other than, well, I guess we should have settled it, which is just a bunch of, in retrospect, you would say, well, I guess, if we were going to lose, we should have settled. But in terms of everything else, are there things that we could have done differently? Yes. Are there things I wish we would have done differently? I don't allow myself to do that, because I think it's cruel, and I've seen too many lawyers fold.
Do you think that, I guess, do you ever think about it when you're preparing for other trials?
Yeah, like I never would agree to have that judge again.
But that's what I mean, like things like that.
Yes, I did.
Yeah, okay.
In fact, when I had my next trial with a different judge, I felt like I was healed. Mm-hmm. It's like, yeah, this is how it's supposed to be.
Well, and you just come off 2 wins. I mean, those 2 cases that were positive, I mean,
You only feel as good.
you don't get to feel it really. So like, I mean, you
never
rolled into that.
We celebrated the Simon victory.
Yeah, we don't do that very often.
You know when we did it? We did it this year.
I know.
We did it 3 years later when we had time.
Yeah.
Which is ridiculous, with the client.
And I mean, I can't remember. I can remember when I first started Jesse Magana, we had a little thing for him.
Yeah.
But there's not many others. I mean, sometimes they would come into the office.
Yeah.
And you would sort of be like, it wouldn't be a celebration or anything, but people would kind of meet him for a minute,
Our
talk to
clients
him.
don't even come into the office anymore.
Not anymore. No.
No one comes into the office, so you don't get to have that.
We don't get as much connection with them.
Yeah, that's true for all of us.
Yeah.
It's by text, by FaceTime.
I mean, unless I have to go to a specific event like a medical exam or something like that, I don't really interact with the clients much at all now.
Yeah, it's all electronic. But those are all really good questions, and I think it's the same for any person. Like, I know, like for athletes, right? They review their films and they want to learn from that and all of that. Well, we don't get a second chance.
No, and I don't see lawyers looking at film very often.
No.
Unless they're trying to remember. I mean, that's the thing. Like if they have another case that relates to that case and they've got something that happened in another trial that they want to use, that's the only time I ever hear you guys doing that. Like, I don't hear people ruminating about past cases that often.
Even dealing with that judge who I felt was so hideous to me. And it was WebEx, or it was on Zoom or something like that. I was unfailingly polite. And no matter how much, and he would chastise me right in front of the jury. And because of that, I never said. Now, if I had lashed out, I would have thought, man, I wish I hadn't have done that. But I've been a lawyer for so long that I'm so comfortable in trial. I knew that I was doing everything that I possibly could. I never rose to the bait. I never acted disrespectfully towards the court. I was like a supplicant at many times as he was berating me.
What about you, Mo?
Yeah, you've had a lot of time to think about it now.
Well, no, I've been listening to you guys. It's been enlightening.
And horrifying.
It's been kind of horrifying. I think that loss for me, I deal with personal and professional differently. So professional anticipation of loss, from the beginning of my career, I immediately was involved in cases where the potential for loss was significant.
Yeah, public defender.
And working on death penalty cases.
Oh, yeah.
Where it's the government wielding its ultimate power to end life and take life. And those cases were incredibly difficult for me to deal with right out of the gates because the anticipation of loss was always looming. Right over.
Was this state or federal?
It was
cases?
federal and state cases.
Okay. Because in New York they don't have the death penalty.
No. It's so I worked in San Francisco actually.
Oh, okay.
And I worked with a lawyer from the Federal Death Penalty Resource Project, and Michael Burt, and he taught me very quickly how to deal with the anticipation of loss. And what was incredible about him as a lawyer is that it sharpened him. It gave him an edge and made him work with, he was like a force of nature. And I adapted to his style. So what it does for me, and that mindset, that anticipation of loss.
Wait, what did he teach you?
To be relentless, to be focused, to dig through everything, to prepare, to be disciplined, to outwork the other side.
I know,
Understanding.
but that's strategy. But how did he teach you how to deal with it mentally?
Mentally, he didn't teach me anything.
Okay, well, that's what I was wondering.
No, because I mean, if you met Mike, and Mike is just an incredible human being, he is very soft spoken, but in the courtroom, Mike is ruthless,
Okay,
in many respects, and it's because emotionally, what he is really good at doing, which is what he taught me, was that he understands that his emotions have no space in a courtroom where that kind of loss is looming.
So he turns them off completely.
Yes.
Yeah, which you have to do.
Well, I was going to say, did you have to do that too?
Oh yeah. I learned how to do it very quickly.
And how did you learn how to do it?
You just focus on the case. You just turn it off. You go, this isn't about me.
And then how do you turn it back on?
Well, once you're done, if and as a trial lawyer, this is the adrenaline. When you turn off your emotions, my adrenaline kicks in, and then I'm just on this drive, and working. And then once the case comes to a closure, whether it's a loss or a win, then that button turns on, and then I come down, and then I have some of the best sleeps I've ever had.
Do you process it?
Yes.
You do. So you replay it, or you allow yourself to think about your emotions that were pent up?
No, I don't do that as much because I have to go on to the next case. I mean, we were very busy.
I was going to say, you have a lot of those cases when you're doing that, right?
Oh yeah, we had 3, 4. I mean, when you're talking about death penalty cases, you're talking about cases that are incredibly complex, and much more complex than any civil case or case I've ever seen. They're so complex.
Do you have any idea what the percentage of positive results would have been?
Very low.
That's what I was going to say. Going into it, you pretty much knew you might not. Well, it's not even might not. You pretty much expected you were going to lose.
Odds are against us, and we won a majority of our cases.
Did you apply that philosophy to all of your public defender cases?
Everything.
Okay. Do you still apply that?
Everything.
So I don't.
And,
I used to.
Yeah.
But not in civil cases.
Yeah.
I don't.
Yeah.
Well, that was something that I was going to ask you about that case too. That I guess not that particular one, because you already said that you didn't push back against the judge. But has there ever been a time that you had a judge like that you pushed back?
Don't get me wrong. I didn't say I didn't push back. I acted very politely and almost docile and respectfully. But yes, I kept going, which is why he kept getting mad.
Yeah.
So, sorry to interrupt you, Mo, but what do you feel, did that change after you left doing death penalty cases?
No,
he says no.
because I'm addicted to it.
Okay.
I am addicted to
To that process.
To the process of those cases. And I've never been able to let it go. And the only reason I moved to Seattle was because my wife was like, we had Jude, and she was like, you can't be traveling the country doing this work for the rest of your life. But I was addicted to it. I was focused that I was going to be the best in that discipline, and I was on my way. I was working with the best. And when I left doing that, I did it because it was best for my family. There is no way you can have any personal life doing that work. It is impossible.
How long were you on the road when you were doing that?
Probably 6 months out of the year.
Yeah, that's.
Three
I mean, I
to
did
6
that
months out of
without
the year.
kids.
Yeah.
When I was working on the road, and it's hard to have a relationship.
Yeah. But you're like in a foreign jurisdiction.
Yeah.
Entirely different court, entirely different people, entirely different rules and processes, and so it's almost like you're a new legal career every time you show up somewhere. But I could never turn off. I still can't. But it's really, I think, benefiting a lot of our clients. Like it's not a burden for me to have this kind of thinking.
No, I don't think there's anything wrong with that process.
Yeah, but it's benefiting all our clients in this office, I think.
So the fact that I don't turn my emotions off, I mean, I can control them to a certain extent, and I have to put some of them in abeyance, like just the total, like
Kind of
we
shove
just
them away
talked
until the
about.
trial's over.
But I keep, I was trained to be that way when I first started.
Yeah.
And I thought and that is not just training, that was the way that it was done. This is a job, this is your duty, and you have to be completely objective. And I rejected that a long time ago, like a lifetime ago. I stopped following that advice, and I allowed emotion into my practice, and it's been there ever since. And it does drive a lot of people nuts.
How so?
Well, because of how emotional I am as a lawyer.
Yeah. You're saying make people nuts, like the other side, the court?
Well, I'm scared to say if I drive them nuts because it could be used against me in a legal pleading by another
By
governmental
city
entity like
attorney.
the city of Seattle.
Yeah. Well, I've seen you in court. I don't think you're overly emotional. I think that you're appropriately emotional when the time calls for it. But yes, you don't just turn off your emotions, but you're thoughtful about how you use it.
Most jurors that I talk to say that they can tell how much I care about my clients, how passionate I am.
Yeah.
But I think that can work sometimes. I mean, I think that's the.
Well, it works for me.
I think that the regular people that don't know anything about the law, except for the TV shows that they watch, all of those images are people getting emotionally involved with their clients. So I think that generally people think that's the way that it is. But I think, listening to you guys and from what I knew before this conversation, I don't think you can let too much of that stuff in. It can make it really difficult.
So yesterday I watched, there was a special, I didn't even know until my little brother told me that they turned the Ride the Ducks crash into a half-hour special on King 5, so I watched it last night because my brother told me.
And were you on, they interviewed you, right?
They did, but what I saw on it was because the cameras were there for like a couple months of they gave up after like the first month, but they got the testimony of some of the plaintiffs, and in particular they had the two Derschmidt sons whose mother was killed, and they were from Austria. Remember, international students, tourists, like most of them didn't speak English, and they were there with their interpreters, and they were playing their testimony back, and I felt like I was right back there. And I was overcome because I remember how I felt when I was taking that testimony. And that was because I was so connected to them that I just instantly went back to that feeling of an overwhelming feeling of sadness, and compassion, and not being able to cry in front of a jury, but being able to let them know that I was right there with them. It takes some skill to do this because I can't cry in front of a jury. I can't have I cannot lose my lawyer part but I can bring out the human part. And so as I was watching it, you could hear my little questions. And what I remember about that is how often the interpreters were crying in that case, because of being able to do that thing. But it is walking a lot of lines to be able to be human and compassionate, but also to stay completely professional. So that's what we have to do, even when we know that we're marching towards the doom of a loss in our case. But yeah, that's one reason why I got sick afterwards, I think, is because there was so much of that not being able to release that expression of emotion.
So I will say this, that the anticipation of loss doesn't drive my emotions to come out. What drives my emotions to come out in a courtroom
Well, yeah,
is
that's a good one, of course.
is the moment.
Yeah.
Is just the moment. I have been in courtrooms where the moment just takes me. And then I almost feel like I've come out of my body. I'm like almost not even in my own body. And I will connect to what I'm hearing and like my client's story. And then
Sounds to me like, you repress part of yourself in trial. Like you are ruthless. You are, you have that rascal quality, but then the other parts of you are not allowed in.
Well, I will.
This was coded language.
Coded language.
I got him, by the way.
Okay.
See, I feel like I'm more whole when I'm in trial than you are.
You are better than me.
No. That's not what I'm saying. Like, I have insider knowledge. I feel like I'm more connected as a overall, whereas you're more selective in who is actually going into trial.
Well, I don't have a multiple personality disorder.
No.
But I do have sides to me. I have
We've already-
the
and we've been-
ruthless side,
yes.
I have the rascal side, and I have the little side.
Yeah.
And the little side is the child in me, is the best part of me. Uh-huh. And he does come to court
When?
sometimes.
You just said sometimes.
He does come to court sometimes.
How often?
It depends in the moment. The moment calls for him to come out.
How often?
He speaks a truth
Yeah.
that, in my opinion, grips the entire courtroom. And everybody pays attention.
Well, you'll have to think of some examples of that, because it's not that I don't believe you, but I don't believe you.
As we talk about this stuff, I'm curious. I know that Karen, you often write about your trials while it's
I
going
do.
on, so you might remember more. But do you guys feel like when you disconnect a little bit like that you can't remember?
So I don't disconnect.
Okay.
And I write my trials out because just the parts that I feel I can, because it is cathartic, and
Yeah.
then I want to start the new day fresh.
Yeah.
But
Which in a way is getting rid of some of that
yes,
difficult energy that
to me
you
it's all,
discussed.
it comes out. I don't feel like at the end of a day that I have been emotionally repressed, because I'm able to process every single day. I get to process it, and the writing does help me process it. My trial diaries, which people think I'm crazy to write, like, how do you have time? And I don't. It just flows out of me really fast. For Mo, I challenge him on this.
Well, I mean, he just said that he sort of separates stuff. So in
Yeah,
a way,
he
you got to
does.
disconnect a little bit.
He does. I think you're more separated than you think.
I am more. I agree that I'm separated. I think that, I think where I'm in my process of developing is just a human being, not just
and
a lawyer.
a whole different type of law.
Yeah,
And
a whole different type of law.
a whole different. But
Yeah, I mean, we never really approached that you've only been doing plaintiff's
this
law
is a
for
whole different type of
3.5
law.
years.
2.5
This
years.
is so completely different.
Yeah. What I've started to pick up on is that, I mean, this is hard. I mean, it's really hard for me to talk about this because it's a really personal side of me.
Well, don't do it.
No, I don't mind talking about it. And it's hard for me to articulate, is that this has to do with a part of me that endured an incredible lot of things.
Well, and that's how, I think that's how you
Right.
become who you are,
Yeah.
obviously.
And I think I really am coming to a thesis that is the best part of me and will be the best lawyer in the courtroom, and trying to marshal him out in a way that I really think is going to speak truth in ways that really need to be spoken is the process I'm in right now.
Let me give you an example. This is slightly off topic.
Oh,
In the one trial that I tried against you,
Against me?
tried with you,
ooh,
right? And I had you do a couple lay witnesses.
yeah.
Not quite right.
Well-
I'm talking about in terms of who you were doing it. I felt like you were more a ruthless Mo being gentle.
Being ruthless about being gentle.
Which isn't completely all the way there. Whereas the other one,
Okay, I'll take that.
whereas if you had been, another different persona of yours,
Yeah.
I think it would have just not felt like that.
Okay. I don't know. I don't remember what I was feeling. I know that I did connect. I think you're talking about.
It wasn't bad.
it-
Don't get me wrong.
No. I know what you're talking
It
about.
wasn't quite there yet, and I think it will be there. I know it will be there because I think we're all in evolution as we're going. And I got 20 years on you, dude.
Yeah. I think that's fair. That like in that civil trial, which was my first civil trial, that what the challenge was.
You asked all the right questions.
Yeah, I think the challenge was where I think by the way, all of this is very new to me. Not even the discipline. Where I am at spiritually and mentally, I am in a new space and I'm moving through it. I don't know where the hell I'm going to end up. You want to talk about the anticipation of loss?
It's not knowing what's going to happen at
Yeah.
all.
You want to talk about the anticipation of loss? The anticipation of a loss of a part of me as I go through this evolution, that's freaking scary because I have known myself to be a person. I am re-examining my relationships. It's re-examining my entire life.
Well, this is a good segue because we talked about the anticipation of loss in the law. Well, let's talk about the anticipation of loss in life. And let's make Mike go first.
Yes.
That's not very
Mike,
fair.
you've got, yes, Mike.
Anticipation of loss. I guess, let me go back a little ways. Oh, yeah. Now I got something.
Oh, wait a minute. I know the ultimate one. You just had to have a life-altering...
Oh, yeah. Heart surgery. I guess you could do that one. But
Oh, my God.
yeah, no, that was pretty big because I was
think it was about the
concerned that I
biggest.
might not wake up. Yeah.
Yes, that's an
Yeah.
anticipation
No,
of
that
the
was a big one.
ultimate.
And it's interesting too because I wrote a post on Facebook about that, and I just saw someone the other day, this weekend on Saturday, and it was a guy that used to be in another band that we used to play with a lot. My friend was dating his sister's friend, blah 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 blah, and he recently got diagnosed with a brain tumor and was going through the same kind of thing. And he said, I went back and read your post again, and it really helped me a lot. And I was like, that was why I wrote this. I mean, partially it was, the release of it myself, right? I wrote that just a few days before I went in for surgery. And I really was thinking like, God, I hope that somebody that I know can read this and, work through that same type of situation. But I mean, I just had to kind of give myself, I had to like let everything go. I couldn't, I couldn't change anything about it other than saying I wasn't going to have the surgery or something like that, which then would, at the time, I was 50% chance that I could die at any time, any day, walking around. So had I gone, I was already over what the estimates are for how long you should wait in that situation. So had I chosen not to do it, it was death sentence pretty much. So yeah, that I had to sort of, and that's the way that I dealt with it there is the way that I've always dealt with it. Because I think back to when I was working on the road with bands, and the last 2 bands that I worked for broke up while I was on the road.
Yeah.
While I was on the East Coast for both of them, so I was 3,000 miles away from where I live. Yeah. You don't get a paycheck when that happens in the rock world. You just, it's done.
It's done.
So I'm, a long way away from home, no money. They don't give you a ticket home or anything like that. You're responsible for everything you do. So the last one, I knew it was all coming. Like that was one where, just like you guys talking about being in a trial and pretty much knowing that it's going to end in a loss, like the singer of the band got in front of a crowd of probably 5,000 to 10,000 people and got them all to chant the F word to their record label while one of their label reps was filming it, and then took it to the owner of the label the next day, and we were dropped from the label the day after that. They pulled all of our tour support, and I was tasked with getting the band and their bus back to Baltimore from Maine with no money.
Oh, wow.
Not no money for me, no money for anything. So, I mean, seeing that kind of loss, knowing that was going to happen, I just go into automatic fix everything mode. I mean, I shut down all my emotions and only think about the task that I have. And, in that situation, I did that. I did everything that I had to do to sit back. I said goodbye to the band, and I hopped on a train and went to New York to meet my wife. And then we figured out what we were going to do after that. When I had my heart surgery, it was a little different because I can't control any of that other than just going, okay, I'm going to wait, see if I wake up. And I mean, that's exactly what it was like. I remember kind of a little bit of when they said, count back a little bit or something like that, count to 50. And I think I got to like 3. And then I woke up and I had a bunch of tubes in my mouth and stuff sticking out of my chest. And my wife said that they took like 3 or 4 times to bring me back.
Jesus.
They actually had to they had to put me back under a couple of times. So
That's
So it sounds
incredible,
like-
Mike.
So it sounds like shut off. The kind of commonality we hear here is you just got to keep going.
yeah,
Whatever it takes, whether it's shutting off your emotions.
well, you can't stop. That's the thing.
Yeah,
if
you
you
just
stop,
gotta-
then
you just
then
gotta
you've
keep
lost
going.
for sure.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you got to
And-
keep going.
And it is, I mean, in most of the situations, unless you're talking about personal stuff, it's your job.
Yeah.
You sound like a trial lawyer, Mike.
Well, he works for one.
I mean, but one thing I picked up on was the difference between control and being in control of a situation and not being in control of the situation, which is the medical situation. You didn't have control over it.
No.
What was that like?
Oh, it was hard. I mean, I waited for a long time because the main thing that they do in the situation for what I had is monitoring your symptoms. And they say, like, when you get certain symptoms, that's when you got to come in and make the decision. Well, I mean, after I finally went, I'd been seeing a cardiologist for a while, but I didn't really know that I was having symptoms. And it was a case where, like, the stuff that they said to me felt like what my life had always been like. So I didn't realize that I was as bad as I was. And they only do certain diagnostic tests. So they could see the progression and stuff, but as long as I wasn't having symptoms, they were like, you're young, don't have the surgery yet. And then when I finally decided to, they were like, well, here's your options. Some of which, I mean, I'd spent a lot of time on Google. I think it was it was 7 or 8 years before I got the surgery from when I was diagnosed. So I had done what I thought was a lot of research, and I was positive that there was only a couple options of what I could do, and I was wrong. They came up that I ended up having a surgery that I didn't think it was possible for me to have. And so far it's worked out really well.
Yay.
But I mean, it was a total shutdown is what I did. I just kind of was like, I can't let my emotions come into this anymore. I got to go and let the doctors do what they do and stop, definitely not think that I know more than them.
Yeah.
But I mean, it was a long process, and I put it off for a long time for that very reason, because I was afraid, I guess.
No.
I'm really happy you're here with us.
Thank you.
Ditto.
I'm happy to be here too.
Thanks for that dismal topic.
I mean, come on.
We'll have to make
The anticipation of loss.
a more positive one.
What's
for
the
next one.
positive? What's the opposite of loss?
He's alive.
Winning.
Winning. Okay. So next we do the anticipation of a win.
Sounds
So
good.
I know those. Those are fun.
Okay, well,
All right.
Okay.